Talk about version control. Who has never used version control of any kind? Okay, a reasonable number of people, but not 2/3 of the class or anything. Has anyone used something other than Git? A version control other than Git?
Like a program?
No, I don't mean like a Git client. I mean like a totally different system. What have you used? Oh, source tree, right, yeah, it's still Git under the hood. Right, so there's stuff like Subversion and stuff like that, that's Mercurial, there's other systems. Git is pretty doggone popular now, and I am very happy that it is as popular as it is because I like it a lot, and there are some others that I really, really don't like. There's some others that are really good too, though. So before we get into Git specifically, let's talk about version control in general and why it's important. It may seem obvious, or it may not. Very early in my career, because back then at least they didn't tell us anything about this kind of stuff in college. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was a while ago. I guess it was kind of a long time ago now. But anyway, yeah, Git hadn't been invented. But there was certainly version control out there, but they didn't teach us that kind of stuff in college. So when I graduated, I went to work someplace where I was the only programmer. And so like any, process or anything was entirely up to me. And I didn't know anything, so I had no process. So I took comfort in the fact, more on that on the last day of class. Some bad things happen from time to time with no process whatsoever. So I thought, well, my computer gets backed up every night, so that's good enough. I don't need version control. That's not really good enough for a few reasons. Number one, restoring from backup is a pain in the neck. Number two, that's only daily. And over the course of an 8-hour workday, I probably did a good solid 2 hours of actual work. No, I'm just kidding. In the course of an 8-hour workday, you might do quite a bit of stuff. And I might get something new working. Then I start the new thing, and I start working on that. And then somewhere along the way, I break everything. So then I have to try to, and it's been a while since I tested, so I have to try to get back to the point when it worked. And that's really hard to do if you're not using version control. To get back to the last time that it actually did work, so much easier if you're actually making little checkpoints for yourself along the way. Another fine example. You start working on a new feature and you just realize, okay, this is the wrong approach. I just want to back up and start over on this. Well, again, a lot harder if you weren't making little checkpoints for yourself along the way. So that's another nice thing about version control. Another nice thing, suppose, hypothetically, you're teaching a coding boot camp, and you're teaching up on a stage that's about that high. And you have a desk up on that stage where your laptop is. And that desk is super, super close to the edge. And you just push on your keyboard a little too hard, and all of a sudden, the entire desk goes crashing off the stage, manages to invert and land on top of your laptop. And it's a half hour before the Apple Store closes on a Sunday. And you have a former student who works at the Apple Store who said, hey, if you ever want an employee discount, just let me know. So I call him real quick on a Sunday. It's his day off, but he says, sure, he'll meet me at the Apple Store. So I race over there, buy a new laptop, come back to class. This was a 7-day, 12-hour-a-day boot camp, by the way. Not my idea, believe me. It was torture, 7 days a week. This was a Sunday, remember? Yeah. Somebody thought it would be a great idea. It was not a great idea. But in any case, the point is, I got back and everything was on GitHub, so we just picked right up where we left off. And we were up and running within like an hour and a half of the incident. It was amazing. Version control, a good idea. So yeah, generally speaking, what you're doing is you're creating little checkpoints for yourself along the way, right? And it also serves as documentation because, I'm sorry, the sandwich is really distracting me right this second. But it's also him looking at the sandwich that's, it's like, he's sitting there going like, so anyway. It also kind of serves as documentation because you can read back through your history and see, okay, made the button work, made the button do a different thing, added a form, did this. And you can kind of see the steps that you took to build something, and it can kind of not only serve as documentation for yourself later when you're wondering what the heck was I thinking when I wrote this, but documentation for other people. And in the professional world, you're going to be working on teams probably most of the time. And other people on your team need to be able to figure out what the heck you were thinking. So This only helps if you have good commit messages, but your Uncle Dave is going to drill that into you, so you're going to have good commit messages. So another great advantage of version control, assuming that you do it right. And there's a feature in Git called Git blame, which, yes, can be used to blame somebody because you can find out exactly where a line of code came from. But it's not just so you can scream at somebody. It also just, though it is a clever name for the feature, sometimes it's really good when you're looking at a line of code. Even if you're the only developer on the project, you might just be asking, what on earth was I thinking when I wrote this line? And you can trace it back to the specific commit and see the commit message, and you're like, oh, yeah, it was part of this feature. Well, that doesn't make any sense anymore. Now I can probably safely take that out. Or you might see a line and think, is this even doing anything? Is this even reachable code? And you'll go back with blame and look at where that line was added, and you'll see it in its original context, and you'll think, oh, I see. With this exact input, this line actually does still do something. I better not take it out. So, version control, super handy and a good idea. Yes, sir.
Based on your experiences, like in software development, and also something that a friend of mine told me, what percentage of your workday you actually spend working? Because a friend of mine will tell me that he works just like he does some software for Purdue West Lafayette, and he says that during his like 8 hours, he'll just spend like half the time just like chilling there, and then finally like 1 p.m. comes like. Oh,
yeah, that's not me. No, that's It sounds like that. Sounds like that job probably doesn't need to exist. That's what it kind of sounds like.
He also says he only pays like $12 an hour for that kind of stuff. So
Well, it sounds like they're paying him about $3 an hour because he only works 1 hour out of every 4. So I would say that's not typical. There are jobs like that, but only at huge organizations where people can fall through the cracks like that. No, I work when I'm working. Yeah, I mean I'm a freelancer effectively, so I think I've answered your question. This has nothing to do with version control, right? Yeah, I mean I don't always work super normal hours since I work from home a lot of the time, but no, I put in a good work day, and I take breaks, and if I need to take my cat to the vet in the middle of the day, I do it. But yeah.
How likely is code to break during like a regular day for you?
Oh, super likely. Several times. Sure. Oh, sure. Typos or just because I'm experimenting with a feature or whatever. I mean, I'm not talking about catastrophically breaking.
Oh, okay. You just mean like it's just like some errors.
Like during development, like as I'm actually like flipping back and forth between my code and the browser or whatever. Sure.
Like it just shuts down.
No, not like production shuts down in the middle of the day or whatever. No. Okay. Can we talk about version control?
yeah.
Cool. All right.